I'm going to chalk this up into the camp known as what the heck is going on here. But I do think that in reading this, there could be something here. So we're going to go through this together. This is from the Xbox Wire blog. I haven't talked about Xbox in a long time. I didn't think it would be in this capacity. I figured it would be another bonehead move they made or another game that just kind of flopped or whatever. But no, this is actually something that could potentially be kind of cool. It is a new AI model that Microsoft is releasing today called MUSE. Basically, they are doubling down on the AI revolution that has taken over the world, and putting AI in everything, even when it doesn't necessarily belong there, seems to be the trend. If you guys didn't see my CES video where I went to CES about a month or so ago, a little over a month now, the amount of AI in everything was ridiculous. They had AI clothes. They had AI toothbrushes. They had AI, I mean, they're just like stupid. And they're not using the word AI properly, but here I think they actually might be. And basically, it is an AI game creator that is looking at other games and trying to figure out what makes them fun, essentially, to try to potentially rapidly develop future games. And there are some cool applications here, but I will say up front, this kind of just is so funny to me. Microsoft spent so much money on all these game studios, and they really don't have much to show for it. And here we find they've got an AI to now make games. You would think that the billion game studios that they acquired would do this for them, but commentary aside, let's stick to the news today. So this is in partnership with Ninja Theory. Recall that Ninja Theory made the game Bleeding Edge. Now, I played Bleeding Edge. I wasn't a big fan of it. Turns out a lot of people weren't a big fan of it. It didn't last very long. It was just another generic hero combat system, kind of like a hero MOBA. This time it was focused more on melee, though. So you had much more up close and personal attacks. I remember playing it during E3 when the Xbox had the Fan Fest. I wasn't really impressed then. It came out. I believe it was a day one Game Pass game. I think I played it like twice, and I didn't go back. Nobody else did. It's long gone. Anyways, so they built this AI called the MUSE, okay? And what they basically did is they ran it through iterations of this Bleeding Edge game, just kind of like how NVIDIA does this with their processing, right? They just put the gameplay on and they just let this AI watch it and learn it and understand it, okay? And basically what MUSE is trying to do is to understand kind of 3D game development, game physics, how players play the game, what kind of feedback is expected from them. And they put all this through this AI model with the hopes of creating AI models that could basically be useful for game creators. So what they did was Microsoft interviewed 27 different global game creators, you know, from the little guys to the big guys, and figured out kind of what they do to make a game. And they kind of fed that into MUSE. MUSE takes this, then looks at all the models, weights the models based on probability and different design considerations with a ton of sample data. And they basically, MUSE created a handful of these experiences, which you can actually download and check out if you want on the Azure AI Foundry. I haven't played with it too much personally, but here are some snippets of various moments in the game that they were capturing. You'll notice that it's looking at specific moments of kind of what happened in a game, taking all that data and rolling it together. Okay, so far nothing has been created. This is just a typical AI tool that is used to kind of query existing game development. Okay, so what? Microsoft says that they believe this could radically change the way on how we preserve existing games. So basically what they're saying is that, older games, it's hard to play them because they're locked behind old hardware. Perfect example, the Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 has tried so many times to make some sort of people have tried so hard to emulate that realistically on hardware, and it just doesn't quite work out, right? The models that they use for the emulation still run off the existing ROMs. The hardware that was used back then don't really apply to today's standards, and you ultimately get kind of subpar experiences. So emulation isn't always a great thing. However, what they're saying is, what if they could take MUSE to basically recreate that game and rebuild it up? So MUSE would basically watch you play Wave Race for like 10,000 hours, and it would learn like the maps and the music and how you played, and it would basically recreate that for you with a modern game engine. And that's what they're talking about here, game preservation. Additionally, you could take that model and then prototype new games rapidly, introducing new content very quickly. So maybe, going back to my Wave Race example, maybe they model Wave Race and they say, okay, well, Wave Race only had 4 original characters. We think we can prototype 4 more, or 5 different levels. So you're almost like getting like DLC for something that doesn't exist. Now, I know that this is all pie in the sky. Obviously, this is going to be on internal Microsoft games due to data rights, and you're going to have to work out things like licensing and that sort of thing. But in theory, the science behind this does make logical sense. And that's why I said at the beginning of this video, to me, this could actually bear fruit. This could actually be something that's kind of cool, right? So that part of it is exciting to me. The other part of it, the part where they think that they're, building on this partnership to kind of change AI breakthrough in community game creation, that doesn't sound that exciting to me. They're basically using this generative AI to try to make the next generation of games. And I think that, to me, is the bad idea. I don't see any of this excitement here. These new AI experiences where they'll have information to share earlier, more rapid prototyping. They'll be able to get things out faster. I don't think AI is quite there yet. And as somebody who's an AI enthusiast who spends a lot of time on the various AI Reddits, learning about AI, teaching people about AI, and just, kind of being generally impressed by at least some of the image creation and some of the original content that AI does try to make online, it never quite works out quite right. There's always just something off about it. It needs that human element. Now, that's not to say that AI couldn't get you to like the 70% solution, and then a human could come in and kind of tweak the difference to make it a real game. But the reality is that in a lot of instances, AI is just made to replicate what it sees. And that's why I think the game preservation piece makes sense. But you could never convince me that AI could make some original idea, because it's just not in the scope of how AI works. AI isn't really so much of a creator tool as it is a curating tool to look at, 500 platforms and then create a perfect 501st platformer. But AI wouldn't be able to look at 500 platformers and create the next first-person shooter. AI doesn't understand that. So I think that's the limit here. And I think Microsoft is, thinking, oh my God, this is going to be great. We're just going to basically create like Microsoft GPT, and we're going to load every game ever in there, and we're going to just let AI kind of mix it around and poop out all these cool ideas. And if they're good, we're going to curate them and release them to you faster. I just don't see that as something that honestly makes sense to me. And that's what worries me about this whole process. And I think that it doesn't work like that. Game development isn't that cut and dry. That's why, PlayStation, it takes so long to curate games. That's why Nintendo takes so long to curate games, because they come up with ideas and they're not the best ideas. They need time to kind of marinate it. And there's original concepts there that might be worth something, but need to be explored and developed. And I just don't see this happening. It is a very wild pivot for Microsoft to invest, tens of millions of dollars and billions of dollars in the case of Activision, to buy these studios and to get these IP, and then to turn on and say, we're just going to try AI now. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't seem to align with what they're doing. And I'll talk about it in another video at a later date, but this does really kind of seem like Microsoft grasping at straws. Microsoft, obviously a software development company. Microsoft, obviously in charge. A lot of the money they make is from the business side of the house. It's from their web development tools. It's from their hosting tools. It's from their search engines. It's from their database and this like global center that they have. And that's where Microsoft really makes, a lot of difference. But where they don't make a lot of difference and where they kind of start to fall apart is in the games. And I just don't see funneling everything into AI and saying, hey, you figure it out, is going to get them anywhere. I guess it remains to be seen, and I'd like to think I'm wrong. I'd like to be proven wrong. I'd like AI to come out with the next big thing, but I don't think it will. Anyways, if you're curious about this, a blog post, there is an embedded video down at the bottom. It's about a 10-minute interview with Phil and a couple of the team members. It might be worth checking out if you're interested. I think this is a very, very distant watch item for most people, myself included. I will stay tuned to see if anything comes out of this, if there's anything that like comes into fruition out of this. But I think this is just Microsoft trying things because everything else they've tried just isn't working. But who knows? Anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.